Hey y'all, welcome back. I figured in this video I would take the opportunity to do something that I do on my personal account, Modern Lady Vibes, where I share videos in what I call a Money Monday segment, where I talk about all things personal finance. In today's video, since it's a Tuesday, let's call it a Tuesday tip. And what I want to share specifically are financial tips and tricks that law students can take advantage of to create a solid financial game plan while in school and while out of school. So let's start with being a law student. One of the first things that you can do to be successful with your money as a grad student is to plan for your loans to last 12 months and not the 10 months that the school tells you that they're allocated for. So if you're like me and you receive loans to live off of, I received the full amount of the direct plus loan at a total of $20,500 a year, then you're gonna get half of that in August, September, and the other half in January. So it can feel like when you receive that money in August to spend all of that by December, and then when you get the amount of January to spend it all by May. But the reality is you're not guaranteed income over the summer, and even if you do land a job that makes money, it may not make enough to pay all of your bills. So you want to treat your student loan disbursements as a yearly amount. So whatever amount you get in the fall, divide that by 6, and whatever amount you get in the spring, divide that by 6. And that's how you should be spreading out your money over the course of the year. For the $20,500 disbursement, that comes out to a little over $1,600 a month over a 12-month period. If you wanted to allocate about $1,000 total, $500 each semester towards books, then you're gonna come out to precisely $1,607 a month that you would be budgeting for your expenses every month. So with that in mind, think about your rent, your utilities, whatever expenses you have right now, and see if you are living within that $1,600 a month range if you're receiving that full direct grad plus loan. Whatever you are receiving, you can simply take that total amount, subtract the fees that are deducted, subtract that upfront book costs you may have, divide by 12, and that's gonna set a budget for you. And you're really gonna appreciate doing this because it's very helpful to know that you have money stretching through the summer when you aren't totally sure what your income situation is going to look like. Okay, this bit is kind of an in-school and out-of-school tip, and this is how to best set up your student loans for the fastest and most efficient type of payoff. Now, if you're not already aware, most student loans, unless they are subsidized, accrue interest while you are in school. So the moment you receive that loan disbursement each semester, interest starts to accrue on that balance. What happens is, even though you don't owe anything until after you graduate, usually a 6-month grace period, if you don't pay off that accrued interest before your grace period ends and before you start making your first payment, then all of that interest becomes capitalized. And what that means is the interest ends up getting sucked into your principal, and now instead of your original balance, you have your balance plus the interest, and that becomes the principal amount that starts accruing more interest when you enter the repayment term. So one tip that I have for you, if at all possible, and I get it, I totally understand if it's not possible, but if at all possible, find a way to pay off the accrued interest before your grace period ends. I've provided an example here for you to see just what type of impact paying that interest off before starting your repayment plan can have on your ultimate total payoff amount versus allowing it to capitalize and just paying the whole loan off over time. For this example, I use numbers for the average law student. So the average law student ends up having $150,000 in student loan debt when they graduate. Now, for loans that were taken out after July 1st of 2020, those loans are going to be locked in at a 5.3% interest rate once loans start earning interest again. So keep all of this in mind that right now, government loans, federal loans, are not accruing any interest. So you have an even greater opportunity right now to take advantage of what I'm explaining here. Especially for 2Ls and 3Ls who did have some of their loan accrue interest prior to the pandemic. But just know that when your loan does start accruing interest, these are things that you can do. So current interest rates are at 5.3% for loans after July 1st. Now, the average student will pay off these loans in 18 years. A typical student loan is set for a 10-year period, but we know that through income-based repayment plans and deferments and things like that, the average student pays it off in 18 years. So that's the amount that I've used there as well. All right, so looking at this example, based on a $150,000 loan, a student will accrue over $18,000 in interest before they even make their first payment after they graduate. Now, if you were this student and you were able to pay off the $18,725 of interest prior to making your first payment 6 months after graduation, then you would be starting with a balance of $150,000 to pay off for those 18 years. If you allowed the interest to capitalize, then you would be starting with a balance of $165,071.26. Now, $18,000 is a lot of money, and you're probably wondering, where on earth am I supposed to come up with that? Well, like I said, I know that it's not that easy to be able to do this, but for example, if you end up getting a job with a big law firm, many of them will offer a interest-free advance on your salary prior to starting law school, prior to starting work. And if you are able to take advantage of that and you don't need that money to live off of, you can dump all of that money to pay off as much as you can of the interest. You are graduating, which means you may have friends and family members who want to provide you with a graduation present. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking to help pay off the interest accrued so that you can get a strong financial start to your future ahead. So, or if you, work while you're in school or find other ways to make income while you're in school, these are all different ways that you can find money to be able to pay down some or all of the interest that accrues. Okay, so looking at the two different options that we see here, you can see that for the student who paid off the interest, they end up spending $232,039.75 to pay off the $150,000 loan. For the student who let the interest capitalize, their total repayment amount ended up being $255,353.96. Now, when you take the difference between those two loan amounts and then you subtract out the $18,000 in accrued interest that took place prior to graduating, then what we're looking at is a difference of $8,242.95 more that the student who allowed the interest to capitalize had to pay over the student who was able to pay the interest before the grace period was up. So these are just things to weigh and consider whether it's worth it to you to save almost $10,000 in interest payments if you can make any kind of dent on that interest that's accruing while you're in school. And the last financial tip that I'd want to give you is for when you graduate, and that is to prioritize your retirement planning. We just spoke about the student loans. We have them, they're not going anywhere. you can pay them off. I mean, you really can take like 40 years to pay them off if you need to. I know that having debt hanging over your head can feel daunting and like it is the most pressing thing that you have to take care of, but understand that you have options when it comes to paying off debt. What you don't have are options if you do not plan for retirement. Okay, there's no fallback plan. There's no, income deferment. There's no way to get more money in retirement if you don't take the time now to save to have money in retirement. So if there's anything you take away, please prioritize your retirement planning. Numero uno, the day you start work. So what this means, or what this would look like, is let's say that you are going to graduate and you're 25 years old, and you plan on working until you're 65. And in retirement, maybe you want to live off $50,000 a year of today's dollars. Well, that's going to look like $1.25 million that you would need to save, 25 times the amount that you want per year in retirement. But accounting for inflation, you're really looking at needing over $2.7 million. And that's going to ensure that your $50,000 a year at age 65 can buy the same amount of things that $50,000 a year today can buy. Okay. So what would that look like for a monthly investment? Well, in order to be able to achieve a $2.7 million nest egg at age 65, starting at age 25, if you invest in an index fund that tracks the S&P 500 and is generating at least 9.8% a year, then you would need to save $463.70 a month in order to be able to achieve this goal. And that amount, $463, is 10% of a $55,000 a year income. So if you make more than $55,000 a year coming out of graduation, then you will need to save less than 10% of your income. If you make less than that, you will need to save more than 10% of your income. If a $50,000 a year retirement is a goal that seems ideal for you. If you want to live off more in retirement, then you'll need to save more, and less if you want to live off less. So this is why I'm saying that it's so important to prioritize your retirement planning, because time is your most valuable asset. The power of compound interest works because of time. And every day that you allow to go by where you are not investing in your retirement is exponential loss for you on the back end. So those are my 3 tips for you for creating a strong financial game plan for yourself while in school and out of school. Just to recap, you want to make sure your student loans last for 12 months and not 10. Pay off any accrued interest that you can before you graduate and have to start repaying, and prioritize your retirement planning once you start your job above all else. All right, hopefully you took something positive away from this video or were able to learn something new. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer any. And I really love talking about all things personal finance. So if you ever want to grab a Zoom coffee or something, I'd be happy to talk more about this with you as well. If you'd like more content like this, then feel free to follow me over at Modern Lady Vibes, as I post videos like this every Monday. Thanks again for spending some time with me and allowing me to share my time with you.